It's Cheltenham Festival season. We are past the Christmas break. We're now just months away from the big event at Presby Park. Hello and welcome back to the Only Fools Love Horses YouTube channel and the start of our Cheltenham Festival series. Each week we're getting guests on to talk about the Cheltenham Festival, the blue ribbon event of the National Hunt season. And we're going to discuss 3 races, potentially 4 as we get closer to it, to discuss what everyone thinks about them and their main fancies for the races. And it's an integration of yourselves, the audience. We're going to be having a competition to run at the end, but we'll have some more details to talk about that later. And of course, we had to start the first week big. So we have got our very own Upping the ante, Johnny Dineen. Johnny, thank you very much for coming on the channel. How are you on this fine weekend?
Very good, Ashley. Yeah, very good. We're hanging in anyway. That's all we can do, I suppose. Really.
That's the main thing. How was your weekend? We just had the Tolworth weekend and the Lords of Nace. Were you successful?
No, it wasn't too bad. I started horrendous yesterday, but I clawed it back to small loss. Didn't lose too much now in the end because I bet a couple of skinny ones earlier on, and they were both beat. And you're on the back foot immediately. And no, but I got a bit of luck at the end of the day actually. I backed. What did I do? Oh, I had a fair bet on a horse. Denworth is one in Newcastle. But I had more on it because I seen it lined up in front. I actually had double what I was going to have on it, and it won anyway. And then I backed the horse Chianti Classico or something, and that was
the Kim Bailey horse. Yeah,
that was lucky. Now I'd say like that was unconscious when the other one. I thought it was anyway. I was very glad to see the other one disappear there, the second last anyway. To be honest, so. Like that was a bit of luck too, and I backed Joylo, and then I was at a young fellas match, and a fella rang me and told me you don't want to be on this. He said it's gone down to post million miles an hour, so I took my money back out of it. So I was lucky there also. So I finished up turning a real bad day into only a small one, and I actually won today, so I'm happy enough.
Fantastic, Stefan. Did you catch the Lords of Nace? Obviously, Irish point.
No, I've seen it. Yeah. I've seen it.
What'd you make of it?
Look, I didn't have a bet in it. I didn't have a bet in the race. I wasn't sure what to back. Like you'd have to say that the Royal Bond form didn't half stand up in it anyway, you know.
Yeah.
So like from like Grange Clare West blew out. That looked to have no excuses anyway, as far as I could see. I mean, as that has no pretensions in my eyes to being a top horse now. Anyway, at the back of that, like Cham Kiley reversed the form with the second Irish point from Fairy House. That ran well Irish point and stuck at it well too. There wouldn't be much between those two horses, and like I just happened to look there. Marine National is after shortening up for the Supreme, and probably on the back of that is probably entitled to have, to be honest, because that looks good form now. Like if Facile Vega isn't as good as some people think, including myself, Marine National is a big runner now at the same time.
You see the mug there, Johnny. You don't know Harry. Yeah, Harry backed him for the champion bumper last season at 20-1. He's actually got a tattoo, Facile Vega 20-1. It's a strong play from Harry there.
All right, that was a drunken mistake. The tattoo was.
If I was putting tattoos for every bet we had in here, it looked like David Beckham around the place.
We don't find many 20-1 winners, so we'll have to.
Oh yeah, well I suppose I wouldn't have too many tattoos then. All right.
Harry, the Royal Bond form did stand up, and obviously Champ Kiley is a horse you like, Harry. How was the weekend for you?
It was good. I was a little bit sick with Authorised Speed. It was one of my horses to follow. I didn't go diving in, which I'm kind of glad I really didn't, to be fair. He was beaten fair and square. He was jumping up and down on the spot. His jumping was poor throughout. He didn't lack anything. Take nothing away from the winner, Tamuras. That was a really nice performance. If he can brush up his jumping, he's going to turn out to be a really nice horse going forward. Obviously, we go on to the Lawlers and Nays today. Champ Kiley, a horse I was so keen on for the Royal Bond, and he just pulled his way through that race. He gave his chance away too freely. But today, it was a Danny Mullins perfect ride. He stacked them up, and I think the omitted hurdles really helped this horse because it eked out his stamina. He won over the extended distance in his maiden earl at Golden Park, I believe. And listen, he was really good, I thought, today. And listen, as Johnny mentioned, that Royal Bond form is really starting to kick in now, and that Marine National could be a serious threat to my mate Facile, but I hope not anyway.
Your mate Fassel, yeah, no, it was a good race. And Lee, we're going to be talking mainly about the Cheltenham Festival today. We've got obviously our video on Wednesday. We'll be looking ahead to the weekend, and we'll do a little bit of review as well. But it'd be good to get stuck into the Cheltenham Festival at an appropriate time now, ahead of March.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can start crying on about it's being too early now. I think we can kick on after Christmas. And look, I'm buzzing. I'm still up at 2-3 o'clock watching reruns of last year. So, let's get stuck in.
And we'll get stuck into one of the first races on the Tuesday, the Arkle, and we've got prices on my screen. John Bon currently topping the market at 3-1. Then we've got the Willie Mullins Battalion in there, about 6-1 for about 3 of them. Appreciate it. We've got Samwar in there as well, Dysart Dynamo. Johnny, I'll come to you first. We've got this short price John Bon sort of leading the UK charge at the top of the market there. Am I right to say that you're a fan of John Bon now at this early stage?
Well, I am, to be honest. Earlier on, I would have said he was vulnerable, but his jumping is immaculate. It's immaculate. It kind of sets him apart from the other 3 protagonists in my eyes. Even there, appreciate he just gets in close to 1 or 2 there today, and he's going around in his own. And the other 2 horses that went around in their own as well. You can't judge a horse going around in a solo anyway, basically. So, and you could say, I suppose, John Bond didn't beat much either, but he beat Mon Morel and in his first run, and he beat Boot Hill the second time. But there's some sort of credible opponents at the same time, whereas the other 3 horses have beaten nothing. I would imagine that I would have thought that Dysart Dynamo and El Fabiola will face off in Leopardstown, and and you'll only have one left after that race, unless they one beats the other by a neck or something like that. But if one tears the other one asunder, you won't be seeing the other one again going for the Arkle. And I have a feeling appreciated. I don't see Mullins with much for the 2.5 mile.
No.
I have a feeling if any one of the 3 horses, like Dysart Dynamo, can't go 2.5 mile anyway, and I don't think El Fabiola will either. And he's not going to run 2 in the Arkle if he thinks he can win both races. He never does that. So, of the 3, that's the one I could see stepping up. He's guaranteed to stay 2.5 mile in his head. Appreciated.
That's what I was going to talk to you about. Obviously, Appreciate It ran today and won again, made it 2 from 2 over fences. We didn't really learn much, but it looks like of the horses, it looks like he could be the one who's most likely to step up.
Yeah, that'd be my reading of it myself. No, I'm, as I said, I'm only guessing the same as yourselves, but that'd be my reading of it. That if they have a 2.5 mile horse, and they'll have to make a 2.5 mile horse anyway. Even the fact that they'll want their stable jockey on 2 and a good horse in each race, not will he only have to ride one and maybe pick the wrong one, all that kind of stuff. Like Ruby Walsh was a master of that, was splitting the horses and driving one into one race, and so he could ride both. And this will be the same with Paul Townend, I'd imagine. I Appreciate, to me, looks the most likely of the 3 to run in the 2.5 mile race.
Would you give any of the Willie Mullins? Which one would you rate as the highest on the Willie Mullins sort of battalion to take on John Bon?
I think the best of the 3 is the horse with the most ability is probably El Fabiolo, but he looks to have his jumping is the frailest of the 3, if we should say, that kind of way. When a horse can't jump properly when they're going around in their own, it's very worrying as to how they're going to jump. Trying to close in on a horse like John Bon, who's going to be gaining ground at every fence.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't know. They're not going to have much experience going there, those horses either, are they? Really,
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens to Dublin. I definitely think 2 of them will run in that race. Appreciated will go for. There's no other real race for him after. No, he'll have to go straight to Cheltenham now. Will he? More likely.
Is there the 2 mile 5 or the 2 mile 6 that they might try? But he's probably unlikely for that, isn't he?
I won't run in that at all. He won't run at the Dublin Racing Festival at all once he ran here. You know what I mean?
He's got to go straight to Cheltenham now, isn't he?
Yeah, it looks that way. And if he does, he's very little experience for the Arkle. He's run two complete solo races and nothing. They're more or less schoolings. They could have done that down in Thurles. You know what I mean?
No, I agree.
I think he'll go 2.5 mile myself now. But as I said, I know nothing. I'm only just guessing.
As are we all with the Willie Mullins bingo. Harry, I know a horse that you're a big fan of and you're on at bigger prices is John Bon, but you were talking a bit earlier, sort of off screen, and you actually like one of the Willie Mullins horses potentially to take him on.
Yeah, I do, and I'll quickly reiterate my point about John Bon. I was I was frightened the way he jumped. He's just so quick. And as Johnny mentioned, he will be gaining at every fence in that Arkle. And you need a horse who's got a high cruising speed and one that can jump a fence as well. And you can guarantee he's going to be fighting out the finish. But he's priced accordingly now, about 6-4. I'd probably say for what he's shown compared to the others, that's probably about right. If I go to the Irish contingency, and especially the Willie Mullins, one that I really do like, and I did back him at 12s before he ran a couple of weeks ago, Dysart Dynamo. Now, I thought he jumped really, really nicely for me. And I did a little bit of timings, Ash. That's usually your forte, this is.
The timings, here we go.
I know, but I did a little bit. And obviously, the Paddy's Reward chase, that was run a race after Dysart Dynamo's chase. So what I did was just from 2 out to the line, Dysart Dynamo won hard held, and he did it in about 51.7 seconds. Blue Lord from 2 out was 49.35 seconds. He was ridden out. Captain Guinness, who was in second that day, he was slower than Dysart Dynamo. Now, that was interesting to me because what does Dysart Dynamo have under his bonnet? Because in my eyes, him and John Bon, I think you can get rid of that Supreme run because they killed each other off. He tipped up. He was probably coming to the end of his tenure anyway, as was John Bon, and Constitution Hill picked them up. Now, we know Constitution Hill is proven it's not a pace collapse, was it? Because that horse has got so many gears, it's incredible. But I think if you're taking the 3, I think Appreciate It, as Johnny mentioned, will go up in trip. Al Fabiolo, he jumped like a tree on his chase debut. So for me, if I'm taking one out of those 3, I'm looking at Dysart Dynamo at 6-1. Or John Bon, who is I'll do a quick one on John Bon as well. Actually, did the Tingle Creek. He was quicker 2 out to the line than Edward Stone was in the Tingle Creek. So the Henry VIII was actually a quicker time for John Bon. So yeah, it's an interesting one now, but I still really fancy John Bon. I don't know how anyone can live with him, especially with Dysart Dynamo is going to be more inexperienced than John Bon is going into Cheltenham.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on the Dysart Dynamo point. Like I'm a big fan of this horse. I was in his sort of Supreme season last season, although I was a bigger fan of Mighty Potter going into Supreme. But I really like this horse. And I held off. I didn't back him at the big prices. I wanted to see him jump a fence because he was a little bit of a live wire last season, just a touch, but he seems to have matured really, really nicely. I thought he jumped extremely well in his beginner's chase the other week now. And I think Dysart Dynamo's got a huge chance. He'd probably be my major play in the race because I see Appreciate It go up in trip. El Fabiolo, I'm just not sold on him. Like his jumping to win just wasn't up to my standard. He has all the ability in the world, but I wasn't too sold on his jumping, and I can't really see much at the bigger prices. So I'd be siding with Dysart Dynamo. But Lee, it's sort of a couple votes there for Dysart, but it looks like John Bon is solid at the top of the market. Do you agree with those comments?
Yeah, look, it's a short price. You still got a couple of months, but what has actually come out of the races, them the Willie Mullins horses, probably St. Roy is maybe the overpriced one, but I can't have him. I think if Phil Dorr hadn't made a mistake, he would have went a lot closer. But he's probably got the best form because, like Johnny and Harry says, the other ones have had solos round. You can't really gauge much, and especially from today, the ill-fated Top Bandit. Sadly, that horse come down. It only had that one to beat from the last day as well, and had beat him by 7 or 8 lengths the last day. So they're just getting freebies. They're getting schooling sessions, and we're not learning much. To be fair, there was only one 9-year-old won the Arkle as well. So Appreciate It. The stats are against him. I'm not really a stat man. I just go on the individual horse, but them creeping up in age, getting on like myself, I wouldn't be having him. And I'm getting these grey hairs, Johnny. You know what I mean? That's why I wear the cap, you know. But no, I just couldn't have him, and I think he will step up out the 3 of them. Maybe I could even see St. Roy stepping up because I think the 2 speed ones, the 2 mailers are going to be El Fabiolo and Dysart Dynamo. I prefer Dysart just because El Fabiolo jumped like a fridge. I couldn't have him off the first day just simply because of his jumping. So I'd scrap him maybe. And look, I think the one to challenge Dysart will be John Bon, but at the present I wouldn't take either one, to be fair. Look, I don't know where you thought Dysart would have finished in the Supreme against John Bon, but for me, I think Dysart was out on his feet, to be fair, and John Bond just stayed on best of the rest, really. So, what do you think?
I thought it was going quite well, to be fair. I genuinely thought it was going
Really?
quite well, and I thought that he could have at least gone on, but it's all sort of hypotheticals. They're so far
Yeah,
out. Was it
true.
three out that he fell? It's too far to be thinking. And, Johnny looks like a spring chicken compared to you, Lee. So, it's one of them. Johnny, I want to talk about a horse quickly for the Arkle before we move on. A lot of people were talking about Banbridge after his Cheltenham run, and obviously he disappointed behind Mighty Potter, but there were excuses due to the ground and the stepping up in distance. Would you give Banbridge another chance at 25-1, or has he sort of gone in your books?
Look, Banbridge is a good ground horse for starters, which he's probably going to get. Ground is probably favours him a little more than he ran the last day. But Banbridge is a good handicapper. I always think good handicappers struggle. Good handicappers over hurdles struggle to make the step up to a grade one horse over fences. If you know what I'm saying. There is a big difference, a huge difference between a Martin Pipe winner and a Supreme Novices winner or something like that. Do you know what I mean? There's a huge gap, and even when Banbridge came to Cheltenham there at the November meeting, Tommy's Oscar ran yesterday. That is not worth a sausage, Tommy's Oscar. It's the softest putty as well, isn't it? And even in that race, Tommy's Oscar was swinging in behind it. You know what I mean? Even behind, there was nothing in that race. Banbridge, he was well exposed in the Drinmore. No, the ground might have been against him. No, he didn't run too bad in the end. He is a good ground horse. And he's a good horse, but he'd have a better chance in the 2.5 mile race for starters. Anyway, I would have thought, because it's you don't have. I wouldn't fancy him in either race. To be honest, no, really, I wouldn't.
At least with John Bond, then Boot Hill's come out. He won a grade the race there at Kempton. At least you've got some form. Whereas you've got nothing in behind the rest of them.
Yeah, exactly. Like Boot Hill is some sort of a credible horse for the Grand Annual at the same time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas look, Banbridge is look, to me he's not a real top grade one horse, and even though he's a great jumper and all that, but that only goes so far, because in these races nearly all the main protagonists will nearly always jump well. You're not going to get a horse blundering his way around and been there between the last two in one of those top races at Cheltenham. If you make one mistake in a race like that, you could put yourself out of the contest,
Yeah, definitely. To play devil's advocate, though, you say sort of not many handicap hurdlers can get into that sort of grade one level over fences. Edwardstone is probably the most recent example.
Yeah,
so it is possible.
It is. And Edwardstone did it, and he was a second season novice as well, which they normally don't do any good either, that kind of way. No, he hadn't done a lot in his novice, but he had run once or twice, he'd fallen in that. But look, there's always exceptions to prove the rule at the same time. But generally speaking, you don't see a top handicap hurdler becoming a top chaser in my eyes, anyway. But Edwardstone is the one that you mentioned. That is definitely an exception to what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he goes. We'll stick with you as we move on to the second race we're going to be talking about, the Grade 1 Brad Advisory. This looks like the most open race of the whole week at this current stage. We've got Gaillard Domain at the top of the market at 8-1, but he looks like he could be going for the National Hunt Chase. We've got Jerry Colom in there at 9s, Manila Kakuna 10s, Time Hill is back in there at 10s. You were throwing a little bit of a lifeboat there, a little bit of a second life there with his Quarter Star win. Were you quite impressed with his Quarter Star win the other on Boxing Day?
Actually, look, the race kind of fell asunder for some reason. Early on, there was nothing jumping well in the race. And I took a few quid out of what's he called? The favourite in that race is 64 shot. McFabulous, yeah, and he wasn't jumping great, I thought it on, but then I was looking back through the field. I said, Jesus, there's nothing really jumping that great here. But the one horse that would catch your eye early on was Time Hill. He was doing less wrong than the rest of them anyway. He was travelling well and he was conserving energy. For some reason, he didn't give his running in Newbury.
It's because I had my money on. It's because I had my money on Time Hill that day, and he didn't have. He just jumped. He jumped like a tree thrower.
I backed him myself. He run terrible, but I don't know. Look, I think he has a chance, Time Hill, but I think it's, as you said, it's wide open race. Jerry Colom won't run that meeting on normal Cheltenham ground at all. I don't think he will anyway.
He wants that deep ground, doesn't he? He really wants that deep ground.
Absolutely, and if they do bring him to Cheltenham and risk him, they'll run him in the National Hunt Chase. That'll be my reading of it anyway. That's what I'm told as well. That if they're going to chance him on like good to yielding, which will be probably too fast for. They'll go for a long distance race rather than the Brown Advisory. That's what the fella told me now, and he's some idea what he's talking about, you know. So, like the rest of them are like you're looking down through them. The Galliard, Dineen, like they're all very beatable horses on any given day, aren't they? Like I think they are anyway. Manila Cocooner, Gentleman's Game. Like Jesus, you wouldn't back any of them horses. I wouldn't anyway. There's yet to be a horse to put his stamp on the race. I would say now, unless something appears at Leopardstown in that race, like it'll be hard for him it'll be hard. I think personally, if nothing appears out of the woodwork, it'll be hard for them not to run Galliard and Manila in this race, and rather than go for the 4 mile chase. You know, like if they can't produce something like James de Burley or someone, and they're on about him going for the 2.5 mile race. So look, it's at the moment they're betting 6 or 8 to 1 the field, and that's what it looks like to me.
You obviously, Guy Demaniel could be going up to the National Hunt Chase, but same connections have got Ramillies. Like, do you think they'll split both horses? Because both of them look like proper stayers. Do you think they might go one and one the other, or do you think they might both go National Hunt Chase?
Oh Jesus, in my eyes anyway, they can bring Ramillies where they like. He won't be winning anything anyway. I couldn't like even in Thurles where he won, he did everything right, and like the other yoke, it was the betting in that race. He was under pressure even early on in the race. Tenzing, that was his name, Tenzing, and like. Geez, you wouldn't take your eye off. I'd no bet in that race, no, but you wouldn't take your eye off Ramillies going to the line now against him either. I like if Ramillies wins the race in Cheltenham, I'll give it like it's running the Albert Bartlett last year, like 7th, 8th, or 9th. I don't even know where it finished, but that's what Ramillies is every day of the week in my eyes. Anyway, no chance in the race in Cheltenham. Anyway, I don't think.
That's like a shot to the heart for me. That's like a shot to the heart. I put up the start of the season.
And he's got a load of problems as well. Apparently, Ramillies on top of that, you know. So he's a very in and out horse too. He can run one good, but run. I'd be amazed if he won anything in Cheltenham, or even 4 mile chase or any race, to be honest. What else was running? I'm just looking down through. Like
Johnny, keep going because this is nailing Ash. This is
absolutely nailing me.
Keep going.
Like the Real Whacker is one of the favourites. Okay, he's an admirable horse. He's a great jumper. He's probably the best jumper in Britain, isn't he? The Real Whacker. Jeez, he's a great leper altogether. But surely he can't win anything like that. And like they'd be able to lie into him that bit easier. Ballygriffin College is a horse that actually impressed me today. It won in Haydock. It beat Beauport or something like that. Look, he's probably not out of the 3 mile race as well. There's another horse I wouldn't fancy, Classic Getaway. Wouldn't like Manila Cocooner either. Like a lot of these horses are not appearing either. You know what I mean? When you look down through them, Jesus, journey with me. Like when you look down through them, Time Hill actually has a chance, all right, a goodish chance too. Look, you couldn't bet in the race at the minute anyway. I don't think anyway, to be honest.
So what you're saying, Johnny, is that Time Hill wins and nothing else finishes. It's just Time Hill and that's it. It's going to be a one run of fields.
I didn't back Time Hill now at any stage for ante-post, and I won't be back at it now. At the moment, it's a race I wouldn't even look at. You wouldn't bet in a million years. It's just it's too clouded to me.
It's difficult, yeah. Harry, what would you make of the Brown Advisor? There's so many question marks across the whole field. As Johnny says, it's quite difficult to land on one at this current stage.
It is. And you've got Classic Getaway and Manila Cocooner. They met last time. Manila Cocooner came out worse off. But then Classic Getaway, he wants an absolute swamp. And you're not going to, unlike last year, which is possible. It's possible. We've seen it last year. It happened in this race. Obviously, La Press won the race in a swamp. I don't think it's going to happen this year, Ash, if I'm honest. I'm praying to the gods it doesn't happen. Otherwise, we're going to have some funny old results. Ballygriffin Cottage, I can understand that case. But for me, he was smashed in the Albert Bartlett last year. Manila Cocooner, if you're going off the Albert Bartlett, now it tends to be a decent race to follow for this race. Obviously, Bobsworth, he did the same. He went Bartlett, RSA 1. Manila Indo ran a close third when obviously Champ pipped him during that absolutely incredible finish. So if you're going off that form, you have to give Time Hill because obviously he is coming chasing. And I'd say Time Hill, Manila Cocooner, if I'm having a bet in this, it'd be either one of those two. Because you're getting, I mean, Time Hill 10s, they're both 10s, I think, across the board. Listen, we're going to have more of an idea. It's so cloudy, as Johnny mentioned. But Guy Demaniel is favourite to go for the National Chase. Jerry Colomb, as mentioned, he needs heavy ground. it's quite weak, isn't it? I would say it's quite weak.
It's a very open race. Lee, the horse, obviously, that I am a fan of for this race. I have been for a couple of weeks, and it was good to see him reappear the other day. James de Burley. Obviously, Daryl Jacob going to roast Cheltenham and saying Turners is the realistic target. That was like smacking me 5 times in the face. You know, that was awful. I thought he's a 3-miler all over, and he looks like he might be going to the Turners, but obviously it's not set in stone. Brown advisory, very difficult to work out. Would you like James de Burley in a race like this?
I nearly had a little squeak at 25s for the Turners, just in case. But it was hard to know because he finished tired near the line, I thought. And it's hard to then gauge whether that's just because he's had a long time off or because, you know, of the trip. So it wouldn't be one on my radar. I did back Jerry Kalama, had a bit of 33s about him for the race. So I'm happy with that ticket. And I did back Time Hill as well. I got a slightly bit, well, it was 16s it was, I think, for him, and I'm happy to go with them too. I know Jerry does need that juice in the ground. The Faheen Novice suited him down the ground. It was plenty soft enough, but he does want that step up and trip. And I did hear the same as Johnny though, that if they're going to take the risk, they might go for the 4-miler, which is obviously
the old 4-miler. The old 4-miler.
Yeah, the old 4-miler, whatever it's called now. But the likes of, I mean, look, Manila Kakuna, like, if this was Saving Private Ryan, you'd be thinking, well, you to back us up, he'd still be on the beach, you know what I mean? He's missing in action, this kid. Where is he? I don't know what is happening with Manila Kakuna. There's a lot of horses because of, especially the Irish, they're all starting late because the ground, where are they? The same as the Arkle, you know, they're not going to get many runs in. He's had that one run behind Classic Getaway. I do like him for the horse as a whole. But you need to get these runs into them to make them battle hardened when you come to the festival. And for me, I'd scrap them, I would have said.
So just a quick one, lads. This is open to everybody, Johnny, Ash and Lee. Does this, obviously, we've seen Irish dominance come so far. We've seen the programs that they have for certain horses. That has all changed this year because they've been so late, the Irish have, in getting their horses out compared to the Brits, to be fair, because the Brits, to be fair to them, we have got them out. We've got John Bonnet, etc., etc. Would this slightly change the way things are going into Cheltenham? Could we see it?
I'll take this.
Little bit of fight. Yeah, go on.
I had a look at the markets the other day, and I was thinking about.
Do not say the Presbury
Cup.
The
Presbury Cup. But I was trying to work out how many the Brits would win compared to how many the Irish would win, and there was a market on for, I think it was less than 10 for the Brits, and I thought, you know what, we could creep up to a 10 mark at least. I see. Look, the first day we normally win the Ultima. We've got Con Hill in the champion hurdle. You'd have that as a given. The Arkle, if you're taking John Bonnet as your winner, then you've got the Mares race, Marie's Rock and stuff like that. The first day we could notch a few on the board, and then it's a case of how many more we get. But it is an interesting market, I would have said. Look, we're not winning it, that's for sure, but we'll get a lot closer than past years.
It's definitely interesting. Johnny, would this sort of come into your calculations, this sort of slightly different setup to the Cheltenham Festival we've had this year because of the drier conditions we've had across the board in Ireland and the UK? Has this sort of affected your sort of reading of races, or have you just gone about it normally?
Well, I suppose it's never ideal. Like going, I would have thought like being a kind of a old fashioned kind of a punter. It's never ideal for you thinking of like the thought of a fella going to Cheltenham straight like without a runs. Like you could never see that happen 30 years ago. Mullen started it with Quivega, and now he did it with Appreciated last year, didn't he, for the champion hurdle and that. So, but like to me, like Appreciated. If his next run is in the Turners or whatever it is, he's more or less going there without a run in my eyes. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You need one after Christmas at least.
Yeah, but he's had two gallops. He's had 2 gallops.
Yeah, exactly. What I'm saying is that he could have done the same thing down in Thurles, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like to be in my eyes, Stateman hasn't had a run yet this year, like as such. You know what I mean? Because he's run against their own horses in 2 different tracks, basically. Like they could have them gallops up in the Curragh, like, you know what I'm saying? That now Stateman's probably going to take on Honeysuckle the next day, but it's it's like it is fascinating how these fellas can get horses primed, like Aidan O'Brien started doing it in the flat. Now it's like it's like everyone brings them straight to the 2,000 guineas without a run, don't they? A lot of the time anyway. You know what I mean? There's no such thing as running in the Craven Stakes or all these kind of trials. The only ones that running them are the ones that have no chance. Anyway, basically, as far as like, you know, but like it become fashionable to do. Bring him there with no, bring him to the Guineas with no run, and it's almost like it's fashionable now to come to Cheltenham with only maximum 2 runs, even in novice races, and sometimes only 1. Which years ago that would be almost unheard of. I think Welsh Chief did it 1 year, all right. He came with 1 run, and I think he won the Arkle. Didn't he win the Arkle? I'd say he did. On the back of 1 run in some gaff as well. It could have been like Taunton or something like that, you know. So like Type could do it.
I think it's detrimental to their chances, to be honest. Like presenting Percy, I think missed the run and then went to the Gold Cup, and then the likes of Appreciated last year in the Champion Hurdle. It didn't help him. You know, it's a struggle. I know. Appreciated.
But I do think it depends on who's trying to do it, though. You know, like presenting Percy's been trained by a small trainer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like whereas Aidan O'Brien or Willie Mullins and influence, they're on a different level to most guys, and they can do things that other fellas can't do. And like you always see these, I even noticed there, particularly in the flat, like Aidan O'Brien will come out with something like some old horse shit about my horse is a great mind. You know what I mean? All this stuff, and my horses come on from a race, but as you know, my horses will improve from their first run. Then you hear every other fella at this rubbish. My horse is a great mind, and as you know, my horses like Ger Lyons we had, and they'd be as fit as fiddles, most of them. You know what I mean? First time out, he's 10 weeks. Everybody wants to do the same as the top guy, but it's only certain fellas can do it. Look, I could never think that was ideal, but these guys are so good at training horses that they can do it. They can bring horses with little or no experience. And
they've got the facilities to do it as well.
They have, I suppose, but they've got the know-how as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I suppose John Bonner's only run against about 4 horses at the same time. You know, that kind of way. He isn't running as much, you know.
It's also not sort of like as an entertainment value. Obviously, Chemical Energy won at the October meeting in Cheltenham, and then Gordon was like, "Yeah, he's straight going to the National Hunt Chase." Same for Shoot First for the Patems for Charles Burns, and then even just now, Gordon's come out and said that I think Irish Point's going straight to the Ballymore, or could be going straight to the Cheltenham Festival. Like as a pure entertainment value, it's detrimental to that way because we're not seeing these horses until the Cheltenham Festival, and they could have a setback and we don't see them at all. It's maybe not sort of the best on that value as well, Johnny.
No, it's not true. But I suppose with Shoot First, I presume they have to protect his mark. You know what I mean? If they run once more and he wouldn't be eligible for the race, that kind of thing. So I can understand why he's going there straight. And there's another man that would be capable of getting one like from 6 months ago and bringing him direct. You know what I mean? That's a proper outfit now. That like Bar Mullins, that's the best trainer in Ireland without a doubt. I'd have him in front of anybody else anyway. For if your life depended on it, I'm saying now. You know what I mean? if you need, as for naming the day, that kind of stuff, that's I'd have him up there with anybody. Don't care who they are. And like he won't be found wanting like coming from 6 months. But other fellas, I wouldn't be so sure whether they'd be capable of doing that kind of stuff at the same time. But you're right about that. Like that, you don't see it, and like where do all Mullins' horses go? Like you like what you're talking about. Like even their classic getaway, Manila, like where are they gone to? That's just 2 months to stay around, isn't it? Like, and next thing there's no sign of him at Christmas. Like where's Brandy Love? Do you know what I mean? You know, and the next thing you hear the like small setback, and then you're saying, "Oh no, small setback." If your animals is usually big setback, isn't it? Like I think it is anyway. You don't want to hear any kind of an interruption anyway. If you're on a horse ante-post, the minute even when they miss a race that they should be in, like that yoke there today, Gaelic Warrior. Like why didn't he run?
Oh yeah, he's like the Twitter horse now. People think he's going for the Martin Pipe off 135. Like I don't need that at all. That's utter rubbish.
I would have thought he'd go for a grade 1 race myself now, to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe they're keeping him for, but then if you keep him for the for the Dublin racing field, he ain't going to run against Facile Vega, so he's got to go 2.6, which is a big step.
Were they going to run him in the Moscow Flyer? I heard it squeaked that they might have tried that one.
Okay, yeah. Is that where he's going to go? Yeah.
Someone mentioned that they might take him there, and that's why they took
Where does Imperial Pass fit in then, and all these other yokes that they have?
Yeah.
Like that
Willie
horse
Mullins
McManus,
bingo, innit?
yeah, but that horse of McManus is the one in Leopard Fairy House on New Year's Day. That's a good horse too. I can't remember his name now, but he won the second race in Fairy House on New Year's Day.
Beat 3-card Bragg, didn't he?
Which?
The one that beat 3-card Bragg, was it?
No, that's in the pocket. That's going to have to run somewhere too. But I'm just talking about this is a Mullins. Indiana something is it? Indiana Dream or something? The Indian Dream. He won a maiden hurdle by about 15 lengths anyway on New Year's Day. But like that has to run somewhere. Like where do they fit all these? Like they can't all run in these races. I like the Moscow Flyer. That's the one Dicer Dynamo won last year, isn't it? And Duvan won and Vautour used to win it too. I think. Yeah, they usually run a good horse at that, but Facile Vega's not going to run in that. So like, I don't know. I like Mullins to me. It's got too many horses, if anything.
Indiana Dream is the horse that you're looking
at. Yes,
for.
that's his name. Yeah.
It would definitely be interesting to see. And we've had a long debate there. We'll move on to the blue ribbon event of the week, the Grade 1 Gold Cup on the Friday. And again, this one is quite open. You got Galloping the Champs currently top in the market 5-2. I'm a massive fan of this horse. But you look past that, Aplutard in there at 8. You got L'Homme-Presse, you got Brave Man's Game, Protectorat, English Battalion there, Conflated, Statler. Johnny, is Galloping the Champs your most likely winner of the Gold Cup this year?
Look, he is, because he's because he's the favourite, obviously, and he's short. He's the most likely winner. Would I back him? No, I wouldn't back him. Not yet, anyway. Now, you know, would I be backing him on the day? I'd say extremely unlikely. Extremely like. Look, I don't know. I punt every day of the week. He's going to be 7-4. Like you'd imagine that you'd pick something at 7-4 in Taunton tomorrow or Ayr or something like that to be with maybe 1.5 horses to beat in about a 6-horse race, rather than in the Gold Cup when everything's hopping off each other and they all trying their best. You know, that kind of way. So like he wouldn't appeal to me as a bet, but he's the horse that looks to have the most amount of ability. But you know, in Gold Cups, you usually invariably have to get down and dirty, like in the last two from the back of the second last. Like the class goes out the window, and then the stamina really kicks in, and the strength and the power in that, and you'll invariably see a horse winning the gold. You don't see a horse win the Gold Cup like bolting in, like, if you know what I'm saying, that they have to get down and dirty and struggle. And I'm not so sure about him in a struggle now myself. Like if the Gold Cup was running, like, why didn't he run in the King George? Why was he not in the King George? I don't understand that. Like, why would you run in? And where's he going to go now? Is he going to go straight to Cheltenham?
Irish Gold Cup, is he?
Irish Gold Cup potentially, yeah.
Oh, he won't run in that. He won't run in that at all. I doubt it. Statler will run in that, and against Conflated. I'd be surprised if Galloping the Champs ran in the Irish Gold Cup myself. I have a feeling he's going to have to go straight there. Like, that's not exactly an ideal prep, is it?
No, not really. No, not at all.
You know,
that's a long time between drinks from John Durham to there. I know. Album photo done it from, but that was from New Year's Gauge. You know what I mean, it's a long time since the Punchestown race to the festival. I think you will take in the Irish Gold Cup, to be honest.
Will he?
I just that's a feeling. I'm unsure. I've not heard anything, but I would have thought.
I do know for certain that they think that they have left Gold Cups behind in the Irish Gold Cup.
Yeah.
And they won't mind bottoming out Statler, but they won't stand for bottoming out this fella, if you know what I'm saying.
That's true. Yeah.
He only had 2 runs last year before he went to Cheltenham. So
yeah,
I mean,
it's different kettle of fish. The Gold Cup against.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You only had Bob to beat. It was a match race, wasn't it? And it's a different fish trying to go up to 3 mile, 2.5. You could never replicate that race, the Gold Cup round Cheltenham at that distance. It's something unique. Even if he did go and win impressive over 3 mile in the Irish Gold Cup, you still got to then step up again in the Gold Cup.
And here's one for you then, Johnny. Obviously, you talk about a horse wants to get down and dirty with it. I completely agree with that. And you've got sort of these types in this year's renewal. You've got Statler, like you said there, won the National Hunt Chase, so he obviously stays around the course. And you've got Noble Yates, you've got Hewitt. Would you give any 3 of them a chance in a Gold Cup that's so competitive this year?
What's
No.
to say? Statler has a bit of a chance. Yeah, he definitely has some sort of a chance, I would have thought. Look, long press is a chance. Obviously, I don't think Brave Man's game. I don't think that the extra two and a bit furlongs, and it's like, look, he may have a chance. I wouldn't fancy him myself. Noble Yates has a bit of a chance. Protector as a horse, I don't think he'll win. And a horse that gets beat 15 lengths, I hardly see them coming back the next year and actually winning it now. You know what I mean? I doubt it. A Plutard has to bounce back now. Hewick, I'm just looking here on the machine. It's Hewick is 27 to 1 or 27 to 1. Like, if put it this way, if you give me $1,000 now, right, and told me I'm going to chop your head off if Hewick wins the Gold Cup, but you can have the $1,000, I take the $1,000. That is an absolute million, trillion, gazillion anyway to win anything. Geez, that couldn't win anyway. No
I can't wait to clip this. I can't wait.
I couldn't. Oh my God, stop! Like, if that can win the Gold Cup, look,
Stop.
Jesus, I wouldn't back that. I don't know. Look, I might be wrong now, but if you gave me, no, genuinely, if you gave me a fiver at 10,000 to 1, I wouldn't have it on it.
Shark is going to have him absolutely flying though on the day, isn't he? He's going to have him so prepared. And if he's good enough, he's good enough.
The problem is they have no other option because the races they've run in. They have no other option. Go for gold.
But he'll get a day out and all that crack. Do you know what I mean? And they look like those guys will have a good day out. They'll have a runner in the Gold Cup, but they ain't going to be winning anything at the same time. You know what I mean? Sure, there's loads of guys have runners in Cheltenham just to be there, don't they? Like,
social event it is. That's it.
Of
just
course,
like social runner.
And they're doing the right thing in bringing them straight there because not busting their bubble. You know what I mean? If they bring him to the Irish Gold Cup, he gets beat 40 lengths. There's no point going to Cheltenham. Like, now you go in and you have a 25 to 1 shot. You in your own mind, you're probably deluded, but you still think you have a chance. Whereas if you go to the Irish Gold Cup, your bubble is burst, and you get beat 30 lengths, and say, well, there's no point in us going now, is there? So I'd rather, like, I just said the same thing to your fellow about Marine National. Like, you keep the dream alive in jumps racing as long as possible.
Right.
You know,
anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Talk about it till the day you died as well, saying I've had a run on the Gold Cup. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I tell every man and his dog every week that I had a run on the Gold Cup.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not running down the horse. I had a few horses. They were donkeys, right? But I'm just saying, like, he's no chance whatsoever in the Gold Cup. I mean, he's coming from falling at the last in the Kerry National, like, you know what I mean? Jesus, like, I don't know, like, that couldn't. There's the horse, like, I don't know, like, at million to 1 years, it couldn't win. They couldn't win.
He's an American national winner, though. He's an American national winner. He's an American national winner.
Oh, I know, yeah. But sure, like,
but that's what they had the day out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And they got big prize money. But put this way, I tell you one thing: if he ran in the Irish. If he ran in the Irish Gold Cup, like, he's only 25 to 1 for the British Gold Cup or Cheltenham Gold Cup, he'd be double figures in that alone anyway, in that race.
As a weaker contest.
He'd be double figures in that, I guarantee you, because they'd be acute down to league slip delay it anyway. You know what I mean? That no one would look. Most fellas anyway would like, the Shark has to be up against the likes of Willie Mullins as well. You know what I mean? I think if that wins, they'll give it up completely anyway.
Like, in fairness, they are backed into a corner with Hewick. Like, he fell in the Kerry National off 163. And it's like, do they go to a handicap with him? Can they go to a handicap with him? They probably can't. So they've got to go for the Gold Cup. But at least it'll be a day out for the owners, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
precisely.
Absolutely.
A horse I want to talk about, because it's a horse I fancy, and I vaguely remember you mentioning it on Upping the Ante, Johnny. Conflated. I mentioned this horse at 50 to 1 when he hadn't run in the Savills. Obviously, he's now 10 to 1. I'm firmly on the boat. What do you make of Conflated's chance, and what do you make of his Savills chase win?
Look, I have to say to you, man, actually, right, Jay. I was looking at it. He was 50 to 1 in the machine. And I said, geez, I would like to be laying at 50 to 1 now. He's 10 to 1 now. That's a completely different story at the same time, and I do think, like, if Statler meets him, just leave out Gallop in the shop, just say he's not in the race. I'd be leaning towards Statler to take him out at Leopardstown, in the Irish Gold Cup. Look, the last day, Conflated beat Kimboy. Like that's like a point-to-point horse, isn't it? Almost at this stage. Like, do you know, how many years ago did he fall at the first in the Gold Cup? That's probably 4 years ago at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a while back anyway. So, like, there was nothing in that. It was a bad race. Like, for a grade one, it was a poor contest. And, like, Conflated did it well and he didn't much to beat at the same time. And, like, I'd be surprised if Conflated went and won the Gold Cup at the same, you know, when the time comes either. Didn't he run in the Ryanair last year and fell, didn't he?
Yeah, he was going to probably be second and then he fell at the last.
Yeah, but even at that, like, that kind of form would be winning no Gold Cup at the same time, would it?
Ash, this is killing you, isn't it? This is killing you.
Ash, I'm going to back you up, though. I feel like it's a Don Cossack mould where they're trying to build him up and have the same runs as Don Cossack done. I can see him running well in the Gold Cup. I managed to get, thanks to Ash, 66-1 about him in the Cup. So it's a good enough ticket now. It's on at 10s, but I can see him running well. I just think it depends on the pace of the race, doesn't it? Look, last year's turned into an absolute sprint up the hill there with Applutard. I think it's going to be a grinding race. And like Johnny said before, you want something that's battle hardened. I see Lohan Press is that type of horse. I think going round Kempton against Brave Man's Game, that was his Gold Cup, Brave Man's Game. I couldn't see him winning and stepping up again for the Gold Cup. I don't think Cheltenham will suit him the same as Kempton. That was his Gold Cup there, and Lohan Press will be a different animal come March, definitely.
If it's soft, I think he needs.
He wanted to be fair to him. He wanted Newcastle on good
soft.
To soft,
I don't think.
He wanted Newcastle on good to soft. If I'm right in saying
he's beaten to overdrive on that. Like
that one the next time
the Royal America.
Yeah, but I'm not being funny. If he has to be beating that horse.
That is
true.
Do
you know what I mean? If he, regardless of him giving, I don't know, a stone and a half away into overdrive, if he's not absolutely demolishing that horse, how is he going to get anywhere near
any Gold Cup contender? Should be doing that.
I wouldn't give that as a compliment. He should be doing that. He should be doing that.
No, definitely. Harry, at this early stage, I agree on the conflated comments. Like, I liked him at 50-1. If I was backing him now and I hadn't got on, I probably wouldn't be backing him at 10-1. I think it's such a wide open Gold Cup for him to be 10-1. It's a bit sort of it's fair price in my eyes, but I wouldn't be going in on him now. Harry, what do you make of the Gold Cup? Is there anything that you like at this early stage, or is it still a bit of a waiting game?
It's just cloudy. It's just really cloudy. I mean, I did have a silly bet, as many of you that are watching this will probably know. I had Royal Pagay at 66-1. I said, okay, all right.
Put him off.
Okay, no. But if it go, let's not forget, he was one of the favorite. Well, a really fancied runner a couple of years ago in the Gold Cup. I think actually you really fancied him that year.
Must have been, must be last year, I think.
We were just waiting for the soft ground. It never came, and if it came up soft, I don't think he should be a 66-1 shot by any means, because he stayed on quite nicely. If you were to say me Brave Man's Game or Royal Pagay on soft ground round Cheltenham in a Gold Cup, I'd definitely have Royal Pagay at 66-1. So the other one in there, it's just it's so cloudy. Lohan Press I want soft. Applutard definitely needs another run before I start going into him again at 8-1. You look at it, and the more you look at it, you think Galopin Des Champs just should win.
Yeah, Royal Pagay, Johnny. Is it 1,000,000-1 shot?
No, but it's in far off it at the same time. Look, he had his chance about a couple of years ago, is right, and he did. Look, he looks below the level required, doesn't he? I think he is anyway. Like it would take a fairly vivid imagination to see how he could win anything at this stage. I think anyway. And I might be wrong, but I'm looking down through him. There's a lot of there isn't
Johnny Shishkin.
Yeah, Shishkin. Shishkin Shishkin is a great horse, but he has an issue. They're not obviously saying that he has an issue, but he has a physical issue. Like fellas be saying to me, you're slagging Shishkin. I'm not slagging Shishkin. Same with Bob Ollinger. Them horses are not right for some reason. You know what I mean? Like, sure, everyone knows Bob Ollinger was a great horse. Like, when he won that race in that Ballymore, like, you just said, geez, he could win the Gold Cup. Wouldn't you like that, the way he won it? Like, he slaughtered good horses and won it in the walk. And even over fences early on, even beating Capitano, like in Punchestown, gave him first run and destroyed him. Like, that was good form. I actually thought he was a cert to beat Galopin Des Champs in that race last year. But, like, obviously, he was ragged when your man fell, but he's not the patch on the horse he was, and Shishkin isn't a patch on the horse he was. And like once they go, okay, you can fellas will say sprinter sacker, but like if I had time, I could name 999 others, like examples of sprinter sackers if you want them. You know what I mean? Of horses that go like bits like monkfish, and they'll never be back. Them horses, like at this level, you have to be 100%, and you can't be like 90, even 95. You'll be found out, and if you're like 10% off of that, you'd be. They won't. I'd say there's a good chance Shishkin mightn't run anymore. I wouldn't be shocked anyway. You know what I mean?
Oh, he's gone on mute.
Hello, Mike.
So
the unprofessionalness.
So what happens is, Johnny, once a week, I always get nailed for leaving my mic on mute and talking, and I look like an absolute idiot in front of everyone. And Ash decides to nail me every week, so now he's done it. It's my turn to nail him. So Ash, well done, mate. Welcome back.
Thank you. That's about 49 to 1 there, Harry. So really well done. You got a good job at getting back. Anyway, bro, my camera's gone as well. I'm having a nightmare. My camera's having a bit of issues, but I can still speak, unfortunately for you. Shishkin, I don't see him coming back to that level. And I don't know if you agree with me, anyone, lads, but I thought it was quite sort of like sudden the way he lost in the Tingle Creek, and then Nicky Henson went, right, that means he's not a 2-miler anymore. I thought that was, I know they've always thought he's a little bit of a stayer, but I thought that was quite sort of like drastic to go, right, he's lost to Tingle Creek, he's a Gold Cup horse now. Like, I don't know about anyone else, Johnny, if you agree with that or not, but I thought that was quite a sudden sort of like change to run at Tingle Creek and then go, right, he's Gold Cup horse now.
Look, the bulk of racehorse trainers will never be short of excuses anyway. Do you know what I mean? And they'll want to keep owners happy, and they won't even tell them. Most of the time, they won't tell them if horses have issues. Especially, like, put it this way: if you have an owner that comes along and he says, "I'll give you an order for 2 horses." Trainer comes away and he gives 400,000 for 2 horses, 800 grand. Like, okay, they bring it back after about 6 weeks, and it has a wind problem. Like, your man can't tell him that. You know what I'm saying? He can't turn around and say to your man and say, Jesus, your horse is a wind issue, can't breed. And like the owners look at him and say, what are you talking about? Sure, you bought him for me. Do you know that kind of way? So you'll find that a lot of owners don't even know that what problems horses have, because it's the owner wants to keep or the trainer at least wants to keep the owner happy, and he can't be seen like. Guarantee you, Shishkin has a problem. Your man was saying the other day it's soft palate thing and nothing like, but I don't know the way he's running anyway. He is a big. Now I know. In the case of Bob Ollinger, that they've had every vet in almost in Europe looking at him, and they cannot find whatever is wrong with him. They know there's something there, but nobody can seem to find it. And whatever that is, I don't know, because it's a shame, because he was a brilliant horse, Bob Ollinger. In my eyes, he was anyway. And Shishkin's a great horse too, but I don't think stepping up and trip. Sure, Cato Starr could win that race when he was running in Gold Cups. You know what I mean? The Tingle Creek. So, like he was a 2-miler all along. He should have been able to be competitive in that Tingle Creek at 2 mile. And like he's jumping out to his left at the pond fence and all that. He's done a lot of wrong stuff, and his head is out to the side. Look, to me, he's a horse with an issue, and once they get the issues, it's very hard to correct them.
Yeah, no, it's sad to see about Bolger and Shishkin. We'll see how he goes the rest of the season. We'll move on to the final part of our series, and we're going to be doing this competition between all 5 of us, as I may say. So myself versus Lee versus Harry, and it's going to be versus the audience. So we put out a tweet earlier today to try and find a nap for the festival for this early stage from all of you. Most liked or most commented tweet got into the video. We'll be revealing that later, and we've got versus team guests. Now, as I said, we're going to be having guests on every week. Johnny is leading the team as he is the first person on. He has the open field to pick a nap for the whole Cheltenham Festival. We're going to be collating results at the end of the Cheltenham Festival, see who has got the most winners, the most profit on points. We'll work that out close to the time, but it's going to be a 5-way competition. And Johnny, the floor is yours to give us your best fancy at this early stage for the Cheltenham Festival.
Look, I'll go for something. Does it have to be big price or short price or whatever price, or what do you want to do?
It can be whatever you want.
Team, so
there's going to be sort of a point system at the end. There's going to be like down to what price it was, but you can do whatever you want, Johnny. The floor is yours.
I'll take a chance on Fakir Dudari for the Ryanair, just in the hope that Allaho doesn't show up.
Okay, what's the price on Fakir Dudari?
He's in around the 10-1 mark, I'd imagine.
Is that sort of a case of he ran well last season, and if Allaho doesn't turn up, he'd be
he's an out now 2-4, 2-5 horse. He doesn't stay 3 mile, and he likes a bit of nice ground. And obviously he wouldn't beat it. Like Allaho has played against him 3 or 4 times, beat him up a stick every single time. Like he comes good that time of the year. But I'd imagine it's his last stab at the Ryanair. You know what I mean? And he's won that old thing in Aintree twice, and like. They'll have a go off. I think they'll definitely have a go off it if it looks like Allaho isn't going to show. But a horse I do like it for Cheltenham at a huge price. Now I'm not so sure he'll run in the Albert Bartlett. Is a horse called Let's Be Clear About It. You know that horse?
Yeah. I recognise that horse. Yeah.
Now they might reroute him into Martin Piper or something like that. I don't know what kind of a rating he'll get in that, but I do know that he's a bit better than he's shown this year. He's 2 runs or his 3 runs. He ran behind American Mike, and then he ran in Cork, and he ran in Limerick. He looks like he's found his level, but I have a feeling that he's slightly better than he's been showing, and better ground will help him too.
33-1, Johnny. If I was to nail you down now, is it Fakir Dudari or Let's Be Clear About It?
I'll go with Fakir Dudari because I don't even know what the other horse is running in. You'd really,
Perfect. That's a good selection there on the 10-1 for the Ryanair. I'll go Lee next. You're at this early stage, first selection, captain to lead you through. What is your early fancy for the Cheltenham Festival?
Look, I'm going to go a bit left field. I'm going to take a handicapper, but it's a big price and I want to get it in before maybe some other people might want to get on it. But it's Il Ridotto in the Grand Annual, 20-1 shot. It is a Paul Nicholls horse. I just think ran the race last season, the Grand Annual. It was obviously bottomless on that Wednesday. Travelled really well. Come to the bend, tanking, just didn't get up the hill in them conditions. Ran in 2 races this season over 2-4. I think a strong run 2-mile race will suit. And ran in the Paddy Power chase behind Gallo, was 4th. Travelled well again, but just that extra trip didn't see it out. Then Midnight River come out and won the New Year's Day handicap, ran in that again, 4th, just didn't stay, but again travelled well. And if you watch back the Grand Annual last season, it travelled like a dream to the bend. It actually, there was a false start. It ended up being second last with Ferrero Bamboo. The 2 of them were the only ones who could get in the race from the back, and it's worth watching the race back. So I'll take Il Ridotto 20-1 in the Grand Annual.
Thank you very much, Lee. Harry, what is your sort of early fancy for the festival?
I'm going to go in the Queen Mother. I'm going away from an Ergamine. I'm going away.
Hang on. Before you put this up, you've been spamming on Twitter.
I have. Okay.
You've been.
But at the price is here. Okay. Oh, here we go. Come on, I'll let you have your 2 minutes.
Go on, have it.
So I did mention this horse earlier. I mentioned that Dysart Dynamo is a little bit slower than him, but I think this horse is a much bigger, better jumper than he was in the Arkle last year. I think he can easily reverse the form with Edward Stone, and it's Blue Lord in the Champion Chase. I think he is overpriced at around 7-1 at the minute. So I think Blue Lord 7-1 in the Queen Mother at this current stage is the value play in that race.
Won't you go up to the Ryanair potentially?
I don't think they need it. I think he's got the pace for 2 miles. I think he's a bigger, as I mentioned, he's more mature. I remember Darrell Jacob was saying he gave him such a good feel, and he just took him into the race. He stays further as well. He's proved that at the start of the year. I don't think stepping up would be an issue. I think for this case, you'd hope that he stays at this minimum trip, but I think he's a nice price at 7.
I think your 2 horses, the 2 lads, depend on the big lad Allaho coming back. Because then, like Johnny says, he may just go Fakir Dudari straight to Aintree if Allaho's there. Same with Blue Lord. If he's not in the race, that they might step Blue Lord up. But Allaho's the one to keep an eye on. Where's he coming out?
Alho is the chess piece to keep a worry on. My horse, I'll be going in first of all. I was impressed by his run today, although he didn't get his head in front. Conditions maybe went against him. He was wide all the way throughout. There was no hurdles at the home straight, which would have suited him best. But I am going Irish Point for the Ballymore, 16-1. So his price is still held. Still is. I was really impressed by his run in the Laws and Lace, and I was equally as impressed his run behind Marie Nationale in the Royal Bond. The step up in trip will be up to 2 mile 5 rather than 2 mile 4 as it was today as we record. So Irish Point 16-1. It looks like he's going straight to the festival. I think he's a Ballymore type. So it'll be Irish Point for me at 16s. And the audience nap, as we had most liked and we had most commented, we had a lot of left field shouts in there, and we're going to be doing this weekly. So if you still want to get your shout in there, do make sure to tweet us when the tweet comes up. But the main tweet we're picking up from Halley Boy. He's a good supporter of the team. Marie's Rock for the Mayor's Hurdle. I think that's about 5-1 around there. So the audience
Freeze now, I think.
Freeze, no way.
Johnny's put him up on the ante. The price is gone.
Yeah, John.
I think Honeysuckle has been ruled out of that race. That's probably why it's contracted a bit.
I think it contracted. No, last week I think it went to 72 or so.
That's all it was. But I just read there this evening where Honeysuckle is out of the mirrors. He's not going to run in that.
Champion hurdle or retirement, isn't it?
A couple of horses you picked there. Blue Lord. I think Blue Lord's improved a lot myself, and your horse Il Ridotto. Il Ridotto doesn't stay 2.5 mile properly, does it? Like no. I think he'll be much better horse than 2 mile. They're two good picks. I would have thought anyway. Blue Lord is the only danger to Enid Gamine, I think myself. I think he's much more of a danger than Edward Stone.
So mine and Lee's pick, that's all right. Ashes, that's
Ashes.
Sorry.
I was Irish Point.
Exactly.
Yeah, look, it's not. It did run well today, Irish Point. Actually, it did, and like it's bar. Like I know Hermé Allen is clear favourite, but apart from that, look, it looks like anybody's. You know what I mean? That kind of way.
It is.
Yes, that's precisely where I went for it, Johnny. Thank you very much for giving me a little bit of a life there. Thank you very much. That's the audience pick there of Halley Boy for Marie's Rock in the Mayor's Hurdle, and that is all we've got time for. We're dead on the hour, as I can see in the top left. Thank you very much, Johnny, for coming on, making your debut on the Only Fools Love Horses YouTube channel. I hope you really enjoyed it. Did you have a nice time?
I did, yeah, very good. Should I talk about horses all night? It don't bother me. You know what I mean? That kind of way. You know,
yes, it's Sunday night and you've given your time away. What more could you ask for? Right?
Look, I haven't a whole lot else to be doing anyway, only minding babies, so it's better than that.
Well, Johnny, if you ever fancy like coming back on, then feel free.
Yeah,
I'm sure
I'll do another one with you before Cheltenham if you're stuck for one.
Yeah, we'll do Cheltenham.
That'll be perfect. Thank you very much, Johnny. If you want to get out babysitting anytime, just make sure to let us know. No, thank you very much for coming on. Thank you very much for everyone watching. If you did enjoy, please do like and subscribe. We've got plenty of videos coming out on the run up to Cheltenham, and make sure to check us out on Twitter Saturdays 10:30 a.m. for our Saturday lives. If you enjoy, please like and subscribe. Thank you from myself, Harry and Lee, and have a good week.